Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we will learn how to take care of the king of flowers, which is the roses. Roses are known as the king of flowers because they are the most popular flower in winter to bloom. You might find roses in any nursery in your locality. Roses are very easy to care of if you mind for some certain things. So this video will be dedicated of how to take care of a rose plant. I bought this rose yesterday and it had a flower, which is this one, and it is fading now, and this one has bloomed today and it has another bud. Today I will be planting it in a terracotta pot. So our first thing will be the placement of your rose. Rose plants should be kept away from cramped and very moist places, and they should have air ventilation in them properly. Proper air ventilation means that the air can pass through easily between the plants. Otherwise, fungus may start occurring and it may damage your plant. The next thing which matters where you place your plant is sunlight. Your rose should get a minimum amount of 6 hours of sunlight, which is generally people don't get in apartments like me. So I will be keeping my rose in the sunniest spot in my balcony. If you are planting roses in the ground, if you have a garden, then you can even keep them in complete sun. But generally you should shelter them in the hot summer sun, because it may be damaging for the leaves and it may have burns. Now again, do not cramp up the place where you are planting your rose with other plants. Cramping up other plants with your rose is not good because it causes fungus, as I said. You can do that with indoor plants in summer because they like a lot of humidity. And if you're planting it in the ground, be sure that it receives nice sunlight, and it should not be placed in a place where water starts collecting, because if you're planting a rose in a lower surface, then the water will start, when it rains, the water will start getting collected there and it will eventually kill the plant. So plant it a bit higher, not completely down the soil. The stem should be higher than the soil level. And then, as we are talking about soil, the soil of your roses should be well draining, but at the same time they should be moisture retaining, because roses do not like very dry soil. Then your soil should be nutrient rich and acidic. To make your soil acidic, you should add different type of manures or composts. A vermicompost is the best thing which I have ever applied in my roses. Then the pot which you have used must be terracotta, because terracotta is the best pot for any plant. Plastic pot is the second best, but the difference is terracotta pots, as you can see here, they are made up of clay. So what happens when you water the soil, initially the water will drain out from the bottom, but still the water that has remained will dry out, because these layers or the walls of the pot are porous, so evaporation does take place nicely, which is the best thing for your contain too much of moisture, so that is not too good for your roses. And then the soil should be moisture holding also. The soil should hold some moisture, so for that you can add some coco peat. It is really good and I have tried it and it works the best. Our next topic is going to be the fertilizer used for our roses. Roses can have organic as well as chemical fertilizer. There is no objection Plus there's even another fertilizer which is specifically for roses. It is known as a mixed rose fertilizer or rose mix. You can find it in any agricultural shop or any plant store. Even nurseries do have them. You can find them in nurseries and different places. So you can use that one if you're kind of a busy person and you cannot go on mixing different items, so that can be good. So if you're going for some organic fertilizer, you can use compost and manure, any kind of horse or cow. Now for winter, when the rose flowers, the flowering essential fertilizers in organic are bone meal and banana peels. Banana peels contain calcium as well, a little bit of calcium, and then phosphorus. No, not phosphorus, potassium. Potassium is essential for flowering. Then we add bone meal because it helps in root growth, which from which if there are new roots, they can take in more nutrition than some roots. So then the same things go for chemical fertilizer. In yes, and you should add some eggshells because roses do like calcium. Or if you do not have eggshells, then you can use calcium powder or calcium nitrate. I don't even remember what was the name of that thing. That thing you can use. Bone meal does contain traces of calcium as well. Then in chemical fertilizers, if you are growing, if the rose is in the time of its growth, when it grows its foliage like in spring or summer, you can use a balanced NPK 19-19-19 or in the ratio 20-20-20, which means that 20 parts of nitrogen, 20 parts of phosphorus, and 20% of potassium, which is the K. K stands for kalium, which is the Latin name of potassium. Elements are named from the Latin and Greek names, so that's why it is K, not P, for potassium. And then while winter is coming, you can even use DAP, which is diammonium phosphate, and you can even use NPK and DAP. You can dilute them or mix them in water and water that to your roses. It is even good. Then you can use SSP, which is single super phosphate. It contains phosphorus only, and that is even good for root growth. Then you can use potash, which is basically potassium, and it is good for flowering. Then the next thing what I want to say about roses is watering. Roses do like moist soil, but water every time when the soil reaches to dryness. So do not water your rose when soil is moist or wet. Wet soil causes root rot and that might kill your plant. So water it in the morning only or a bit in late afternoon, but if you're doing it in the late afternoon or the evening, water only in the soil, not on the leaves, because if the water remains in the leaves at night, water does not evaporate easily, so then fungus can occur, molds and fungus, and eventually it is not good. Diseases in rose are many, if fungus, like this root rot, and there's even another disease which is pretty common in roses, that is leaf spotting. There are black spots on the leaves, as you can see here. First the leaves turn yellow and then they have spots. To avoid this, you can first remove all the dead leaves or the infected leaves, and then you can spray your plant with a fungicide. You can use organic fungicide, which is trichoderma, or you can use chemical versions also. Now for pests, I have never faced any pest with roses, no aphids, mealybugs or caterpillars or snails. And if they're snails, then you can use neem oil, which is good. Now pruning, our next topic is going to be about pruning. Pruning time should be from, if you want some beautiful flowers, then you can do hard pruning on a bit aged and matured roses, which is from mid-September to mid-October. So until then they can start their branching, and eventually in January they will flower nicely. Or then you can do a bit of soft pruning in the earlier of spring if you have not done any pruning at all, which I will do because this is a small plant, and if I will do hard pruning on it, it might die. So our next topic is going to be different type of roses. There are basically two main kind of roses. One of them is the English rose and another is Indian rose. You can see this which I have bought is Indian rose because Indian rose grows very beautifully in our climate, which is subtropical. And then the English rose needs a bit special care. You have to care more for English rose, but the flowers are very gorgeous, they are very big, and they do look beautiful. But at the same time, the Indian rose, which is also known as Desi rose, is not bad, it is even good. And the if you're searching for a rose that is fragrance for fragrance, then you definitely need an English rose. Indian roses. English rose does not have any fragrance. At the same time, Indian roses, which is this one, has fragrance and they do smell very nice. And so now I will repot my rose in this terracotta pot. And now I have planted it in here and I have added the fertilizer. I have added eggshells and DAP and potash for its flowering. And how do you keep the soil acidic? You can do it by adding tea leaves once in a while in the sides as you have done with the fertilizer. The fertilizer should not touch the roots. That is one thing that you should remember. And then another way of keeping your soil acidic is by what you have to do is you have to pour 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. It is not the normal white vinegar or the non-fruit vinegar which we use. Apple cider vinegar is different. It is for consumption purpose. You have to use 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in 1 liter in 1 liter of water, and you can water that to your plants as well. Now this is apple cider vinegar. It is completely different than what we use for cleaning purpose. I have mixed 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 teaspoon of trichoderma or any kind of fungicide in water, and I'm going to water it to my rose plant. If you found this video useful, do like it and subscribe to my channel.